The rebels in Britain's opposition Labour Party are Prime Minister Theresa May's only hope for approving a deal in Parliament on the country's withdrawal from the European Union, a political analyst in London says. Given how divided the Conservatives are on this issue and given that the Liberals and the Scottish nationalists won't go any kind of agreement of this nature down, the only way that this agreement could go through is these so-called Labour rebels. Garrie, a writer and commentator based in London, told PressTV in an interview on Sunday. Garrie said, however, that if some Labour lawmakers decide to back May's controversial Brexit strategy, that would pit them against Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn, who himself has a good chance of replacing May and forming a government. That would effectively end a lot of people's careers in the Labour Party, as at the moment when it seems increasingly likely that Jeremy Corbyn could form a sane government, that they would keep this monstrosity of a fractious government in power, he said. With Brexit talks reportedly stalled over a disagreement between British and EU negotiators on the future situation of the Irish border, the UK faces a real chance of leaving the EU without a deal. But if May manages to clinch a broad Brexit agreement with the EU, she still faces a huge task of going through the Parliament with it. The Labour has indicated that it would reject the deal if it does not pass its tests. So have May's critics in her own Conservative Party, who believe that May's Brexit strategy would make Britain increasingly dependent on the EU after leaving the bloc in March. Garrie said that May would hardly survive the ongoing brawl in her party about the final Brexit deal. He said many of the Conservatives did not care for Britain's national interests and were only concerned with their own views on Brexit. When the ship begins to take on water and sink, the rats begin scurrying to the surface, and this is what is happening in the UK government, which is unsurprising because the government is built on total deceit, said Garrie. Unlike a constructive compromise that tries to pull the best of all worlds together, the only thing that the Conservative frontbench, who are themselves in disagreement, can come up with is a plan that disappoints everybody. Garrie reiterated that the only mathematical way for May to obtain the approval of lawmakers in the House of Commons for her Brexit deal was to rely on the support of Labour rebels. Otherwise, he said, May's government would fall in the near future. Assuming they, Labour lawmakers, don't do that, then I don't think this proposal has any chance of getting through the House of Commons, he said. I'd be very surprised if this Prime Minister survives 2018. If she manages to do so, it won't be long into the new year when there is a new Prime Minister and of course a new general election.